Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and we are getting closer towards Sentinel League, and I figured I would do a nerf prediction video. Now, do remember I am a hardcore solo self-owned player. It's not necessarily what I think should be nerfed as well. We'll talk a little bit about that too, but it's just, predicting what do I think is most likely to get nerfed. And we're at a very interesting point where we're gonna see, like, is TGD just trying to get more players, make more people happy, or trying to prepare for things in the long term? People are always worried about power creep getting out of hand, right? It might always seem to a lot of players it's like they're trying to stamp out fun, but it can very easily get to the point where the game becomes too easy and you're just right-clicking everything very easily, right? PoE 3.17 introduced so many new great items that instantly became a staple for a lot of builds. Like we have Omniscience, Ashes of the Stars, and things like that. The Ascendancy Balance is in a weird spot because especially on hardcore, there's like 3 or 4 builds that are played much more than anything else, right? We have Champion, Necro, and Saboteur, especially, is very, very played more than anything else. So we have some crazy new items, like I mentioned. Ashes of the Stars, very, very strong. The only thing that keeps it in somewhat balance is that it does not have +2, it only has +1, and it does not have life on it. This doesn't really help softcore balance in any way because it's pretty much the go-to and it's so common. Honestly, I think that's the biggest problem of it. But the fact that it doesn't have life does mean that it's not like the easiest choice to make for every build on hardcore, but it is so strong that you get restoration, gem level, and quality enables so many builds. And it's so good for just everything, like some auras, especially if you get the anomalous ones, but also things like just simple things like Flame Dash getting 30 quality extra. It makes it so much better. It feels so much better. Pretty likely Ashes of the Stars will get nerfed. I actually don't think it should get nerfed. I would rather see the rarity get nerfed if they are going to change it. I would like to, because it is too common. I don't think it's great when the strongest items in the game are also the most common. I think on SSF I had like 11 Ashes of the Stars, and that's a little too much for an item this strong, right? There's a happy medium. It doesn't have to be Mage's Blood rarity either, but probably shouldn't be something that you consider a free, like you're just guaranteed to get it. It's like a gold rim. In fact, I would say I had less gold rims than Ashes of the Star this league. Next up, we have Omniscience. This is even stronger than Ashes, and a downside to Omniscience is it becomes just like, well, why would you do it any other way? It becomes the default way to build in that way. And I am actually a big fan of the way Omniscience is. It's a little too strong that it also gives you res, because you're so easily getting res capped and an insane amount of damage, and there's not that much balance required there. You just stat stack. So it's even easier than most things like Instacker and stuff like that, because on the Instacker or Strength Stacker, you still have to res cap normally. Whereas on this, you get it for free and while getting damage. That's always been a rough thing to balance. Whenever your defense is also your offense. Either way, Omniscience is insanely fun. It was by far the most fun build. I at least hope they don't nerf it too much instantly. I would love to see it. If anything, it could get, instead of it being every 10 attributes, it could be every 15 that he gets the pen. If they want to nerf the power. However, again, I would love to see a rarity nerf here first and see how that affects things. I quite like us being able to get really, really powerful. Just like, it shouldn't be like a guaranteed. I think I had 7 or 8 Omniscience. Hope they don't nerf it too much. It was very, very fun. Next up, we have Forbidden Flame and Flesh. I'd be very surprised if they nerf these. They're incredibly rare. They're just incredibly cool. And they really are like the epitome, I think that's saying it correctly, of what Path of Exile is all about. They can be insanely build enabling and really interesting. They're obviously not really doable for SSF. I didn't get a pair. I got some really cool singular ones, like for example the Fortify from Champion, but I never got the matching half. So obviously more of a trade league thing. And all these items, like, it's very important that they stay popular, people like them and stuff like that, because they are from pinnacle bosses. We're also going to see new items being designed by the players, like Darky and Steel, etc., coming in most likely already in 3.18. I'm expecting at least 1 or 2 being introduced already, but like, it's important that the pinnacle bosses drop exciting things. Shrek and the Blizzard Lady. The Blizzard Lady has like good items, but Shrek doesn't, right now. Both of Shrek's items is very, very bad. Black Zenith was almost good. So I'm talking about the like smaller bosses, not the new pinnacle bosses, but the new small bosses. And the Black Star has like the really good covered in ash ring, and the helmet or whatever is pretty bad. But the covered in ash ring is good, and the fight's not too obnoxious. Melding of the Flesh, maybe too strong, but I really like it, and it's not easy to build every build around. But yeah, once you get melding, 90% all max is very cool. And obviously you can't use it on things like bow builds as easily, so I don't think melding needs to be changed at all. It's in a really good spot. And I think it's important to have very strong defenses in a game like this, because if your softcore players are actively building defense, you've done it right. And I think for a lot of these, like, rares can compete, which is really good, especially with Ashes. I think that's what I quite like. There are some cases where Ashes is not compatible with, for example, builds that really need the quality. If you really need 100% quality or something, that's like the only way to get it is Ashes and Hans. Omniscience, there's nothing that really competes with it. Let's talk a little bit about the Ascendancies. Obviously, we saw Champ, Necro, and Saboteur, and a lot of people playing Righteous Fire Inquisitor. Champion is so insanely strong because you basically pick a build or a skill that doesn't need a lot of damage investment, and you just go full tank. And you are borderline immortal, right? It's hard to kill these builds. It will be things like Detonate Dead, Beard, or Simulacrum that kills these builds. And they are actually fairly hard to die on. Even melee classes are kind of struggling with consistent Fortify right now with the new changes. So Champion just getting 20 Fortify, boom. So good. So very, very strong. I wouldn't be surprised to see some Fortify nerf or Fortify changes. Imagine if Champion only gets 10 Fortify. So it will be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if Champion gets a nerf. Also, like the aura effectiveness it gets, it's very, very strong for some builds. That being said, if Champion got nerfed, it would also sort of be like Sad Turtle, because there's not that many amazing Ascendancies right now. I definitely feel like Ascendancies just aren't the best because a lot of them struggle defensively. Necro has been nerfed quite a lot, but Necro gets... it's just so strong. The amount, like, block is so good. And when you're able to get block and spell suppression, you're mortal to spells. Then you just need to figure out Fizz. And Fizz is like pretty doable with a lot of endurance charges. And nearly every build now is doing Determination, Grace, and Defiance banner. So is that a bit too strong? Generally, whenever we see nearly every build do something, they nerf it. So examples of this in the past, for example, we used to have Cast No Mistake and Enduring Cry. Or Immortal Call as well. They used to be like on every build without exception because they were free. They were free defense for just a few gems, and yeah, it was used in every build. So that's normally what we do see is nerfed. DD is it is almost close to being balanced. I think right now it's mostly not DD being too strong except for the Bug Specters. Part of it is just that it's so tanky that it doesn't matter how low your damage is. And it's so good to be able to, like, in invitations, explode another boss to kill another boss. Next up, Explosive Arrow specifically. Do we think DDD is going to nerf it? It's very strong for how low of an investment is going to be. There was a little bit of drama around leak start. Some people were like, oh, these streamers are clickbaiting, say it's going to be so strong. They don't know. Obviously, everything was indicating that it would be so strong, and Hit Explosive Arrow was really strong in the patch before, and now we saw just on paper that Ignite was going to be even better. So we knew for a fact that that was going to be one of the strongest starters. Nothing could really prepare us for how strong it was going to be, though. It was normally the way starters in Path of Exile work is that it becomes something that you do some of the early bosses with, like Awaken or Maven, and then, you know, you start investing into something else. Like, for example, normally we would have gone into, let's say, something similar to the Omniscience builds, right? You invest into that. However, Explosive Arrow Champion was an absolute powerhouse. I would say I can't think of a single starter that has ever been as strong as this. The only thing would be maybe some of the Blade Blast builds, but it's scaled so much, and starters normally don't scale this much. I did everything except Simulacrum 30 on my EA champion, and I farmed Feared a lot on it. Very, very strong. I think the only thing that ended up killing me was then Detonate Dead, because yay. So are they going to nerf it when it's such a strong skill and it's so easy to acquire all the gear for it? Obviously, +3 bow is guaranteed now, and everything like that. I don't know. They did say that they're not posting a balance manifesto. Does that mean that they're not nerfing or buffing anything? Or is it just so much that they don't even have room for it in a manifesto? No, I don't know. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we don't get too many changes this patch. I would likely see maybe like a small percentage nerf to the ignite stacking. Generally, this is what we see nerfed whenever something is incredibly cheap and incredibly powerful and can do everything. That's very easy to hit. But that being said, very excited for Sentinel. Thanks for watching. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.